If you are a beginner or casual fantasy football player, I'm gonna give you 3 practical and very simple tips that you can use immediately to help you play fantasy football smarter and to give you a better chance of winning in your league. Tip number 1 is to move all of your Thursday night players out of your flex position. So if you have somebody who you are planning on starting that has a game on Thursday night, move them out of the flex position and put them in their traditional running back or wide receiver slot. And the reason you want to do that is because it allows more flexibility in case of injuries that occur after the Thursday night games all the way up until Sunday or Monday night. So for example, let's say that you actually do put a running back in your flex spot for a Thursday night game. That position is then locked after game time and can't be moved. So if for whatever reason another running back that you're planning on starting that week gets injured, you have to replace that running back with another running back rather than having the flexibility, if that flex spot was still open, to choose between a running back or a wide receiver. So leaving that flex spot position open up for the later games allows for any last minute adjustments or injuries that you can adapt to, where you can choose between a running back or a wide receiver and not be pigeonholed into starting only one particular position. So the whole point with this tip is that if you're already planning on starting a player and they have a game on Thursday night, there's no real reason to put them in the flex spot and limit your options in case of injuries occurring later on in the week. So just throw them in the regular positional slot and put yourself in a position to adjust if you need to. Tip number 2 is to stay 1 week ahead when you're streaming defenses. Now, if you aren't familiar with the strategy of streaming a defense, check out the video in the corner where I go into more depth about why it's an effective strategy. So with this strategy, what you'd want to do is have your last roster spot available to roster another defense. That way you can kind of look forward into the future and pick those defenses up 1 week before you would actually want to play them. That way you can have the best streaming option for the following week without having to fight for it through the waiver process against the rest of your league. This way you can guarantee that you have a top streaming option to start on a weekly basis. Now, if you've got a defense on your roster that you feel confident that you can start for multiple weeks, that's great, but what you want to do is still take a look in the future, look at the waiver wire, and see where you can pick up good streaming matchups. And then when you do find them, just add them 1 week before you would actually start them. Again, that way you don't have to fight over them with the rest of your league. And then tip number 3 is to simply check to see what players were dropped after your weekly waivers go through. So rather than only looking at what players were added through the waiver wire process and who you either did or didn't get, make sure you take a look at who everybody else dropped that week. It can be really easy to forget these types of things or to not pay attention to the players that were dropped because you assume that they're nobodies. But I guarantee you throughout a season, there's gonna be a lot of players that are dropped that you wish you had on your roster that other people are just frustrated with or don't wanna keep waiting out to see if they're gonna turn around later in the season. So just make it a habit on Wednesdays when you see the result of the waiver wire process, who other people in your league dropped. This is where you can find some hidden gems as long as you're paying attention. I hope you got some value from these tips in this video, and if you did and want more in the future, please hit the subscribe button below.